the council. If you will, may I have the roll call, Lamley?
Yes. Mayor Lowry is absent. Councilwoman Hopkins.
Here.
Councilman Grimm.
Here.
Councilwoman Nowakowski.
Here.
Councilman Cobb.
I think I'm here.
Councilwoman Eggleston.
Here.
And Acting Mayor Cook.
Here. And with that,
members
we'll have
present.
the invocation by Councilman Cobb.
Dear Heavenly Father, give us the strength to do what's best for our citizens and our community. And also watch over the people that have this Corona-19 and help us get through it. Help our military, or watch over our military, excuse me, and watch over our first responders, which would be our sheriffs and our fire and EMS, and just help us get through all this big mess. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
And with that, Mr. Grimm.
I'm getting it.
All righty, are we ready? I pledge allegiance.
Allegiance
To the
to
flag
the flag of
United
the United States of America,
To the republic
to the republic
for which it
for
stands,
which stands
nation,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty,
with
and
liberty and justice for all.
All right, we need action on the minutes for 8-3.
So be.
Second,
Mr. Cobb and Ms. Eggleston. If you will.
Yep. Acting Mayor Cook.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins.
Yes.
Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski.
Yes.
Councilman Cobb.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston.
yes,
Now, Councilwoman Nowakowski, you were out the last meeting.
I was out the
Correct.
last.
Yes. she was-
Yes, you should abstain.
Oh, correct. Okay.
All right, so that those minutes are accepted. 501.
All right, and then action on minutes for the regular session for 8-3.
So be it.
so moved. Second,
I
Cobb and
assume-
Eggleston.
Yeah.
Okay. Acting Mayor Cook.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins.
Yes.
Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski.
Abstain.
Councilman Cobb.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston.
yes,
All right, those minutes are also accepted. 501.
All right, communications, Mr. Bridge, anything new?
not to report, sir.
All right, city managers report.
Thank you, Mayor Cook, members of council, members of public. Let me get myself situated here. So the city manager report for August, which will go over our July figures. So I'll start off with the finance report. So council may notice that we are back to giving council reports out. So we've got a lot of pages in there with our financials. If you have any questions on those, just please email me. We'll try to get them answered. If not, we can answer, ask any questions live too as well. But for July, our revenue received was $587,149. And our expenses were $457,000 and about $564. Month to date revenue received, year to date, sorry, $4,214,000, 125. Expenses to date, $4,315,773. And our statement of cash from our revenue expenses leaves our ending balance at $3,243,068. So it is a pretty expansive packet. So I will definitely try to answer some questions from council. If not, we can get them answered via email this week. Any questions on any financial related items? Not, I will move on. Mr. Cook, is that okay? Okay, and moving on with the city manager report is our service director, Mr. Howard Kicko.
Thank you, Mr. Bridge. Good evening, acting mayor and members of council. We'll start under our public works department. We've gotten all our curb repair that we had scheduled done except for Church Street, and we will be starting that here in the next week or two. That got delayed because of Bullet Point right below it, Tal Schroyer, curb and gutter, Hillcrest right-of-way clearing. We've completed that and also Durapatching the majority of the repairs up there before the county comes through for their chip seal, which should be in the next couple weeks. Rawson potholes, we had some real bad ones that we had to scrape with the backhoe and get cleaned up. So we got those done. We also have another major repair at Fenwick and Kennison that we as a city are going to clean out, and then we're going to have a private contractor use their paver to pull about 100 foot of asphalt down along that curb and gutter. It was holding serious water, so we're going to get that taken care of, and I believe that's just scheduling with the contractor at this point. Water department, the water treatment plant, old high service pump building rehab is complete and back in service. As you can see, I think on page 2, I'm not sure if your copy is color or black and white, but you can see the rusty pictures that we had there, and then what that top left picture looks like. It's all nice, shiny red valves, blue check valves, and painted blue piping. So we're back in. We've already notified the EPA, and they've given us their blessing. So that's one more item off of the report. Adam Street Water Tower is being inspected this Wednesday, the 19th, to do a thorough inspection that we will be submitting to the EPA promptly once we receive that report. As far as that leak detection survey that was completed on June 5th, those 4 on-surface main breaks were all located. We had the final one, which was the sinkhole at the end of the alley there on West Washington, just kind of behind the new city building, Toys and Games area. So we have found all 4. That doesn't mean that there's not new ones coming up, but we got the ones that surfaced that were checked then. We have a few hydrants that we do have to get some repair work done. Approximately those are at 3. Moving down to the 2020 road resurfacing project. On that list, though, it says resurface Langdale, Glen, Hamilton, Clayton Court, Corona Circle. Somehow I missed Washington Street. And as a matter of fact, the milling has been completed on all streets. The scratch course has been completed on all streets. And Washington has been completed 100% with its surface today. I don't know by the time I left how far they got on the other streets, but I do know they were doing surface on a few others today. Traffic signal upgrade project. I'm sure most of you have been driving around, but for some that haven't, poles have been installed at both intersections. Mast arms have been installed at both intersections. All concrete foundations are complete. Some signal heads are mounted at this point, and concrete work started today with new ADA ramps, new catch basins at the Jefferson and Main intersection. As far as electrical and stuff like that, they have submitted their package to DP&L. DP&L was out today, so the Banzel Construction is at the mercy of DP&L getting the new power service that will run these lights. And then I will give another update as I get them for the next council meeting. But that is all I have on my report. I can entertain any questions on that or anything else that might come up.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
Mr. Kicko, if I could ask you a question.
Sir,
When are we gonna start our Durapatch on these streets?
we had completed already the first round of Durapatch, and right now we've been hitting a few potholes as we've seen new ones come about. And then we've received calls on ones that they have seen that we haven't gotten to, but we were Durapatching, I think about a week and a half ago, Tal Shore Hillcrest, and hit some of Northwoods, and I think they hit a few others on Jefferson, which was an old sewer break by the church there, just west of Church Street Light. So we've been out with it. If there are any that we have missed, you could let me know, or we've been getting calls about.
Now, you might want to take a look at Villa, and there's some on Henry.
Did you dig those out again?
Yeah, I did. Right now, in front of the house, you got about a 3-inch dip from the bottom of the curb to the pavement in front of my house.
Okay.
And you got it across the street, you got it even deeper.
Are they potholes, or are they on the reveal of the gutter face?
It's revealed the gutter.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. If it is not a pothole in an area and it's a long stretch like we just fixed on Washington, that will probably be in the resurfacing next year to do that full run.
Well, I mean, it's from the trash trucks. Is exactly what it's from.
Right. But if it's, which I think is, it could be 100 feet long, that will be corrected like we just did with Washington, where the mill went through and didn't have to mill anything along the gutter edge because it was already 1 3/4 inches deep. So we just had to pave it in. But I'll take a look and see if it's a hole or if it's 50 feet long, something like that.
I know it's not 50 feet long.
I will check into those.
All right, thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Mr.
Mr.
Kitco.
Mayor,
Oh, okay. Somebody else was in there. Go ahead.
Mr. Kitco, what is the time frame on repairing the sewer drains on Main Street?
We should have those done by this fall. They're on that list of all the projects we had from the spring. So they're just put in order. We have the Church Street curb, and then those will be next.
Okay,
So hopefully sometime this fall we get those.
okay.
That is something we did discuss in the staff meeting this morning.
Yes, we did.
All right. I noticed, Mr. Kitco, that we're in the process in Smith Park of removing some tree stumps.
Yes, that's another part of the I didn't have that on the report because they started that after I had sent this to Mr. Bridge.
Okay, no problem. I just noticed the one. Are we gonna do quite a few of those, or are we gonna do them as we get to them?
Those are as we get to them, but Dave, I think, knocked out almost 6 or 7 of them in an afternoon.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else for Mr. Kitco?
No.
Okay.
Nothing else?
Thank you. So moving on, first off, Howie, in the past 5 years, you and your department have just really knocked out street repair, and I think everyone in the city is very appreciative of that, including myself and council. So please keep up the good work. I think we're moving on a record pace with our road repairs, and I think the citizens are seeing that. So thank you for the good work on that. And before we leave Howie's department, one of the things that I do want to talk with council about, and this is not on this agenda, on my report notice, is the community cleanup. Talking with Mr. Kitco last week and the week before, trying to get something lined up. I'm gonna be very honest with everyone. I just don't think it's going to be feasible to do this year because of the Pride workers not coming. Every year they send numerous amounts of prisoners to help out with that. And there's a lot of heavy lifting with the stuff they bring in. And I just don't think we're going to have the volunteers to get that done this year. So it is something more than likely we're going to have to put off until 2021. Again, I just don't think we're going to have the manpower. Mr. Kitco, not to put you on the spot, but anything you want to add to that?
Oh, no, we discussed it. We usually get 8 to 10 Pride workers. We get Cub Scouts. So obviously we were talking about the kids not being near them. And then we also have a couple of the ladies that will usually check IDs, take cash. So there is some face-to-face interaction from each individual who enters the cleanup. Those are the big things with the situation going on that would kind of prohibit that. But yeah, trying to find the workforce has been tough with the COVID being around.
So may I suggest maybe we go ahead and hold off this year and maybe have potentially 2 events next year if feasible? One in early spring and at the end of the year, or we just do one big one, extend the hours on it maybe. I don't want to jeopardize this year with one, lack of manpower, two, putting the employees at risk who's going to have to take the money for it. What does council think about this particular?
Well, if I can, I'd just soon make a motion to postpone it this year and take it into 2021 and do a longer one-day deal.
Second.
Any other comments in regard to that motion?
So that was postpone it till 2021 with for a little bit longer runtime.
Yes, sir. Since I don't know who you are.
And that was a second by Councilwoman Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay.
If it's up to us to handle it, I don't think we could.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, what they bring through really is a lot.
What I have is a lot.
Okay. Is it good to call the vote?
Go ahead.
All right. Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Hopkins.
Yes.
That's accepted 6-0.
And continuing on, Mr. Bridge.
Make a note of that vote. And moving on with the city manager report, our planning and zoning report with Mr. Derek Hutchinson.
Good evening, everyone. Mine's pretty short and sweet tonight. So far to year to date right now, we've issued 76 zoning permits. So that's everything from new home, sheds, fences, occupancies, signs. Last couple of weeks have been pretty heavy coming in. So a lot of activity out there. Our code enforcement guys, since July 1st, have opened 89 cases. So each case could involve multiple violations within those. Out of those 89 cases, at the end of July, 64 of those were closed. Most of the ones that were open had just been written toward the end, so probably got closed shortly after that. We've been trying some different approaches. We have been using, some people have seen them, the yellow door hangers. We have been using some of those. We have been sending legal notices as well. We've been doing some old-fashioned knocking on the door. And so far, we have gotten a great response and seen a lot of success out there right now. So Andy and Dave are doing a great job. Like I said, it's 5 days a week, all day coverage that we've got. So it's working out. They're getting, they're getting calls, they're getting questions. They are working with our residents, to make sure they can get their violations corrected in time. We do have about a handful of cases that we are working with our solicitor to get prepared for to take to court to Clark County. So those will be filed hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. Tool lending center. We have had a few people utilize it. I have been getting more and more calls, requests for tools, checking to see exactly what we have and what the process is. So people are learning about it. And we have got some requests for tool donations that they're going to be bringing to us. So we'll be able to take those tools, make sure that they're safe to use, and put them right into circulation there. So excited about that. We had a ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago. Thank you for everyone who came. Even though it was rainy, we still had a good turnout and, get the word out there. We have been receiving several calls still regarding commercial properties, vacant properties that new businesses are looking. I can't release the name and too many details, but we did get confirmation today regarding a frozen fresh meat market. It's coming to Main Street. They have secured a location, and I'm working with with that business owner to get everything set up, get his occupancy and signage and everything set up. So we do have some new stuff coming up, some new businesses. we have some residential lots that have been vacant for a while that we're getting interest in new homes being built. So we've got some stuff happening. So at this time, I'll take any questions.
Mr. Hutchinson,
Yes.
have we had your code enforcement on the high grass and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, especially more toward the beginning, mid-July, a majority of our cases were high grass. We have had a couple dozen of abatements where we've had to go in and mow. Majority of those are vacant, abandoned properties. But yeah, we still have them today. I mean, they're not as, not as much. The ones that we get today are more likely ones that we can't see from the right of way. So someone's backyard that hasn't mowed, the neighbor calls us. So some of these tall grass if they still exist, we have to rely on our residents to call us to inform us about those.
Well, if your code enforcement or any way they can write a note to the homeowners on the grass, if they don't have the equipment, they can get it from the city.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So we will be, I'm getting ready to get these ready. We're going to be sending flyers. So we'll send flyers out, small flyers that will indicate tools that are available for residents to use. And we've had a couple of residents that have called and stated they didn't have a lawnmower or a weed eater, and we did inform them that we do have means for them to use that. So yeah, they do kind of work hand in hand, but we will be issuing, like I said, there'll be like small flyers that will be either with a door hanger or with the notice that we send.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Vice Mayor. Yep, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Mr. Hutchinson. I was approached by a resident about the alley that runs from Pike Street to the alley behind me, about tree limbs, bush limbs growing out onto the alley, making it hard to navigate. And Mr. Bridge said he was going to refer it to you.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that they could go down and identify those properties and those owners to have them remove that. It's overgrown brush, regardless of what it is. It definitely can be. I know we received complaints on, I believe it was the alley between Church and Scott, that they did the same thing. So definitely we could get those alleys addressed.
One of the things that Derek and I talked about today is with our new iWorks software, the program that we have for code enforcement tracking, we can actually give council a detailed report of the violations. So what we're going to start doing is we haven't decided if we want it to be part of the actual packet or a supplement, because it can be a very long document. So, but basically what we're going to be doing is emailing council a detailed report of the violations we got. So instead of you guys just seeing 71 violations or 60, whatever it is for that particular month, you're actually going to see the 60 violations in more detail behind it, exactly what the violation was for, the address, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's just a good piece of information to give council to say, yeah, we're given some violations, but yes, this is also what we're violating for. Right, like I said, me and Derek will get together and decide if we want that part of the council packet itself or just a supplement email. But since it is your guys' packet, would you guys like that as a separate email or just one big long council packet? And just keep in mind with that answer, because if you want to go back and research it a month later, you're going to have to open up the packet and go through all those pages, versus if it's a separate document, it's a lot easier to find.
That's right.
Yeah. So we'll probably just end up sending it as a separate document at first and then see how that works out. And if you guys want to incorporate that into the actual packet, just let us know and we can definitely do that for you. Does council like the idea of having those extended violations to see what they are, address, stuff like that?
Yes.
I think that's a very good idea. That way, if a citizen comes to you with a complaint, you can say that has already been addressed.
Yeah, or you too. I mean,
Forefront.
yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and our software, the reporting capability is quite amazing. So, I mean, as we get these to you, if there's something you want added or deleted, it's as simple as just pushing a button. And it's a saved report that I could run at any time from any dates. But like the 89 cases that they have open, that 89 cases probably has 150 violations within it. So that will at least give you the breakdown, show you. We'll get a better idea of what is the most violations type or category that's written up. So it'd be helpful for you to see what they do. And my guys are also right now kind of doing an inventory of these items that, that right now are more structural related that would be costly for those homeowners. So in between their daily duties, they are kind of keeping a logbook of violations that will be upcoming after the first year, just giving people a heads up to, just to be able to start prepping and getting ready for upcoming projects.
Anybody have anything else? Back to you, Mr. Bridge.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. And moving on with the city manager report, our fire report with Fire Chief Trusty.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and citizens. For the month of July, the New Carlisle Fire Division responded to 96 EMS calls in the city, 14 EMS calls in Elizabeth Township. The division responded to 8 fire-related calls in the city and 1 in Elizabeth Township. We had 3 calls answered by mutual aid either by Pike Township or Bethel Clark due to Medic 52 already being on a response. We answered 2 mutual aid calls for Pike Township, and we answered 3 mutual aid calls for Bethel Clark. The division right now is also in the midst of doing hydrant flushings. We are putting it on Facebook page on the New Carlisle IF page of what area that we're in with a map showing the areas of the city. So that way the residents know what area we're working in. And as soon as we move from one area to the other, we're updating that on Facebook for everyone to see. Other than that, that's basically all that's going on. Any questions?
Hearing none, I guess, Mr. Bridge.
Thank you, Fire Chief Trustee. Moving on with the city manager report, the police report. So it's actually located just embedded into the Word document there. So I'll just read it for the public. So the police report for the month of July, they patrolled 4,378 miles. 216 calls were taken, 26 reports. They had 40 assists, 15 criminal arrests, 21 traffic stops, 921 business checks, and 286 citizen contacts. Any questions on any of the police matters?
I do.
Yeah, what's up, sir?
Are we ever going to have a police administrator or someone with the sheriff's department part of these meetings?
Yeah, eventually we will definitely see where they're at with that process. I have not heard anything about them awarding anyone with the new sergeant position. So that's what they're doing. They're going through the process to see who actually gets to be promoted. And then through those promotions, they decide with me who's going to be the administrator. I had my request out to the sheriff's office about who I would like it to be. I have not heard back on that request yet. So as soon as we have someone sat in that chair, we'll definitely have someone there. But until they decide who passed the test and decide who to put forth, then.
Because it's been 5 months.
It has not been 5 months.
Last one was in February.
That's, we've had major,
Nobody-
and then, we're not having anyone Zoom in because it's not really a safety issue when we're Zooming from our own house. But our police administrator just resigned within the past month and a half. So we've always had a police administrator, but I didn't want them to pay them to Zoom into a meeting. The only reason why they were there to begin with was to read a report that, and take questions. And also the other half of that was for the safety of the people in the meeting. So prior to COVID hitting, we had a deputy major SAC come and then give the reports and just presence. But the reason we haven't seen them physically here at the meetings is because there's no need for them to be here.
So you're saying Sergeant Underwood retired?
Yes, he retired about a month ago, month and a half.
Okay.
So what they're doing now is doing all the testing to replace his position. And then once they get those group of people who have performed well enough, then they get with me and decide, all right, these are our options to move forward with your administrator. They're a very heavily unionized organization. Okay, any other questions on the police report? No. Okay, so I'm moving on with the other items. This has been on there for about 2 meetings now. The city building downtown, the bids do go out September 8th. I did get the full bid packet actually delivered this morning. So this week I'll be going through that, making sure it's all correct. But again, they'll be going out September 8th. 3 to 4 week run time. We're doing alternative bids for the 3rd floor, the bathroom on the 2nd floor, the upgraded lights and fixtures. And again, what is not included in the bid spec, so we save some money, is upgraded electrical IT wiring, certain furniture, workstations, and other related items. So definitely keep council up to date with that. Sunshine Laws training, should any council member want to take part of that training on their own, the next online session is August 26th from 9 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. So again, just shoot me an email and I can give you the registration details. I will be looking at the auditor of state website again to see if there's additional online training courses for the month of October, November. They do have some Insight locations to do the training, but I'm assuming they're going to switch those to online at some point in time. So as soon as I get updated dates, I will definitely share with council should you want to take part on your own. Shelter house reservations, we are currently not honoring any reservations. That is something we've just kept on doing because of the COVID outbreak. Waste removal bid specs, currently out the bid. The bids are due 8/27/2020. And at this point in time, I will request a special meeting in council on Thursday, August 27th to review and discuss the bids. And then also again, Monday, August 31st to introduce legislation accepting the bids. So basically, I'm asking for 2 special meetings on the 27th and the 31st.
Do we know what time?
That would be up to council. The bids are due at 10:15, so it just has to be afternoon at some point in time. That is just to really just look at, so we're all clear. So we can get together and I can share, we can openly discuss what the bid results are. But depending on how you guys want to move forward, I'm gonna have to draft legislation. So I'm gonna need a little bit more time to draft legislation. So another thing we could do is instead of having the 31st meeting is just vote on it at the September 8th meeting. I don't like that because as much time as we can give whoever wins the award time for that transition, it's going to be better for them. So I would prefer to use the 27th and vote on it on the 31st because it still has, introduce it on the 31st, but then vote on it on the 8th because we're still going to have one, council approve the award, and then 2, there's going to have to be a 15-day waiting period after the fact. So the earliest we do it, it eats into that 15-day waiting period.
Do I hear a motion for a special meeting on both nights?
Make a motion for both nights for a special meeting.
What time would you?
Mr. Cobb and
So how about 7 o'clock?
Mr.
7
Cobb
o'clock.
and Linda, are you second on that? Are you
First,
second?
second, whatever.
You're second,
Who was the first?
Mr. Cobb.
And whatever by Linda.
Pardon?
And that was for a special meeting to be held on 8/27 and 8/31 at 7 p.m., correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Well, you better make sure everybody can make that time.
I would prefer it be a little earlier.
What,
I would not.
We can just call the vote on it and see if
Lies.
since you've already made the motion.
Right.
Good to go ahead and call it?
yes,
All right. Councilman Cobb.
I made the motion.
She's
I know,
asking. vote.
we're voting now. Now
Okay, well,
Kowski was the second.
okay, yes. All right. Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes,
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman
Yes. Even though you froze up, I'm assuming that was me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I got frozen there. Everyone was frozen. Yes, I said Councilman Grimm
Yes.
and Councilwoman Nowakowski.
Yes.
All right, that's accepted 6-0.
may I ask Mr. Bridge, how many bids we have, out? Has there been 2 or 3?
Oh, how many responded to us?
Right.
None.
How many have requested?
Oh, Rumpke, the big ones, Rumpke Waste Management for sure. Other than that, we haven't had anybody return them yet.
From Republic?
Mhm.
Okay.
Not that I have seen. They usually wait till like almost the last minute. Like the last day almost sometimes, or the last couple of days.
All right, going ahead, Mr. Bridge.
All right, thank you, council, for those additional meetings. I appreciate that. 2019 audit is currently underway. Must be to the state by the end of the month. So if anything would happen to change on that, we'll definitely update council. There's a review period afterwards. So the state awarded the contract to a company out of Marietta, Ohio called Perry and Associates. They're actually fantastic to work with. So that is due here by the end of the month. Should we need an extension on that, we'll definitely let council know. But even after we submit it, it's going to take some time to be reviewed by the state of Ohio, and then they release it once it's done. So it's still a process to go through. We are making leeway on it, but we'll definitely update council as anything changes or needs to be addressed with city council. Upcoming, this is on last week's last meeting as well. We have the 2020 budget adjustments due to COVID-19. So that include our revenue expenses and our CIP program. That will also be followed by legislation. We actually might have some legislation coming to you guys as early as the next meeting for some transfers that we need to get done according to the system output that we saw. And also, again, we have the liability insurance and health insurance renewals coming up. That is all I have for the city manager report. So as always, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
All right, I guess it brings us down to the comments from members of the public, and I believe you had one there that I would like to hold until new business. Do you
Okay.
have anything else other than that one?
Let me refresh the page here on my iPad. Just that one, sir.
Okay, let's hold that till new business, and that way we can possibly get some of the employees out of here that are not necessary for
Hold
that.
on. I got just looked at my junk folder. Let me see if these are. No, they're trash. They're solicitations. Sorry.
All right. Committee reports, we got nothing, and you have no comments from the public. So other than that, I guess we'll go to the resolutions, Ms. Barner.
Okay. Let me get them here.
Do you?
All right, our first resolution is Resolution 2020-12R, a resolution establishing a new special revenue fund titled Local Coronavirus Relief Fund.
Okay, now we got a little problem with that because on the sheet, you've got 20-2812R, and on the sheet here, you've got 20-11.
Needs to be 12. I just noticed that. So disregard that. It's correct on the agenda. I
So
can just,
just make that 12.
yeah, I got that. We can handle that.
All right. All right. All right, so that's the introduction tonight. Do I have a motion on resolution
moved.
2020?
Second.
That was Eggleston and Mr. Grimm.
Yep.
Yep.
So the explanation of this resolution, as discussed in the work session, we need to create this fund to track and expend out of the CARES Act funding that we've got from the government.
Any discussion? If none, I guess we will ask for a roll call.
Okay. Councilwoman Nowakowski, you're muted also.
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
and Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
That motion's accepted 6-0. Can I have a motion to break rules of council for our resolution? Let me pull it up here. 2020-13R that came in the email this afternoon.
So moved.
Second.
Got
I
a
heard-
motion. Go ahead.
Eggleston, Hopkins.
For second, yes.
Okay,
Hopkins on the second.
All
Go ahead,
right, we have a
co-vote.
motion and a second. If we call the roll.
okay. Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
I think she disappeared.
He's gone.
she disappeared.
There she is.
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Hopkins.
Yes.
Okay, so that resolution this evening is Resolution 2020-13R, a resolution adding and deleting authorized signatories on all financial accounts of the city of New Carlisle, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
And an explanation of this ordinance, as we discussed in the work session, since we're down a finance director, we had to reduce some signatories to ensure that we had two signatures. And I stated that once the finance director would start, that we'd come back with new resolution to replace Mr. Hutchinson and attach Mrs. Harris. And that's what we have in front of council tonight, to make me and Ms. Harris the two main signatories, and then Mr. Kitco, and then our tax administrator, Mrs. Taylor Witt, as another set of signatures.
Any further discussion? If not, Mrs. Burner.
Okay, Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Nowakowski.
Yes.
That is accepted 6-0. Moving on to our ordinances. Ordinance 2020-25, an ordinance determining to proceed with the improvement of certain public streets within the corporate limits of the city of New Carlisle, Ohio by lighting them.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, an explanation of ordinance 2020-25. This satisfies the requirements of the ORC that says that should we want to light our streets, we have to determine to proceed with them. And this is based off the resolution that we passed at the last meeting.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Burner.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion's accepted 6-0. Ordinance 2020-26, an ordinance levying assessments for the improvements of certain public streets within the corporate limits of the city of New Carlisle, Ohio by lighting them.
Do I hear a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Who was the first on that and second? Sorry.
Me. I was first. I think Mr. Grimm was second.
All right.
Okay, so an explanation of ordinance 2020-26. We have to actually do an ordinance levying the actual assessments for the street lighting assessments. And that is the purpose of this ordinance tonight.
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bridge, is there any change? Is it going up or down the assessment?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Will there be any change in the amount of the assessment, up or
We do.
down?
Change in amount. I mean, it's always basically the same every year. When it comes, I see what you're saying. So this one's it's pretty much flat, you know, so the only way that we're going to see change if there's a vacant house that maybe didn't pay for their assessment or a bank hasn't paid yet, but it's the same formula that we use for everyone. It's 60 cents like per linear foot. So we'll see the fluctuations in the other assessments, like how much grass we cut from year to year, or, you know, how many utility bills that are past due. But this one, we usually receipt about the same every year, but it could always fluctuate just a little bit based off who actually paid the tax. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, will there be any difference since we have LED lights now?
Yeah.
It won't be any cheaper?
Very rare. Remember when he brought the packet to everyone and, you know, we did the cost savings. I think it's actually only going to save us maybe, ooh, don't quote me on this. Let me close my eyes and look at the page. $200, I think it said. It was very minimal.
Any further questions? Mrs. Burner?
Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
and Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
That motion's accepted 6-0. Moving on, ordinance 2020-27, an ordinance certifying to the Clark County Auditor and authorizing placement on the tax duplicate certain delinquent utility accounts for collection with real estate taxes.
Do
Move
I
to
hear a
accept.
motion?
Mr. Grimm got it first.
Oh,
Second?
Who was the second? Is it Nowakowski?
That's what I heard, yes.
You down there, okay. Okay, so the next explanation of ordinance 2020-27. So every year we have delinquent utility accounts, either bill wasn't paid or whatever, whatnot. We actually have to assess those for payment to the county auditor. But in order for us to do that, we do need to have legislative power via council to do that. And that's what is the purpose of this ordinance this evening.
any questions? If not, Mrs. Burner?
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski.
Yes.
Motion's accepted 6-0. Ordinance 2020-28, an ordinance certifying to the Clark County Auditor and authorizing placement on the tax duplicate certain uncollected weed and or grass cutting fees for collection with real estate taxes.
So moved.
Second?
Eggleston, Nowakowski? Is that who it was, Emily? Sorry, Eggleston.
Eggleston, Noakowski?
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I got.
Awesome. So it's explanation of ordinance 2020-28. So this is also, we need the legislative power to go ahead and send to the county auditor assessments for any kind of weed or grass cutting that we have performed through the period, which is August to August. And so that is the point of the legislation tonight.
Any question? If none, Mrs. Burner?
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski.
Yes.
That motion's accepted 6-0. Our last one is ordinance 2020-29, introduction tonight, public hearing and action on 8/27/2020. An ordinance authorizing the expenditure of funds over $25,000 for the purpose of the City of New Carlisle, Ohio's annual audit of financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2019, and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract for said audit with Perry and Associates.
Do I hear a motion?
So
It's
moved.
just- It's read only tonight.
Read only.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm stuck
Moving
in a row.
You
So
guys
other-
are more than welcome to turn that into an emergency legislative piece if you really want to get to it tonight. More than welcome, as long as I got 6 votes.
I was gonna say, I don't think you have 6 votes.
We'll move on to other
You don't?
business. Is it okay to read other business? Our
Yep.
city offices will be closed on Monday, September 7th, 2020 to observe Labor Day. That's all I have on the
Alright.
agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
That's all you have, Mr. Burner?
Yep.
All right. I think under other business, we have one thing hanging out there that could be construed. I
Mr.
believe you-
Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, can I give the opportunity to my administrative staff to log off if they so choose, since they've had a very long day today?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kicko, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Fire Chief Trustee, you're more than welcome to stay, but you can log off and enjoy your evening should you so choose. And I appreciate your guys' hard work. Really do. You guys know that. Good.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bridge, I believe you have a comment from a person that in regards to this new business, other business that we might like to entertain.
Yeah. So it is from an email address that is LX21Q plus EZ70HBWE621 times 4 at sharklasers.com. And it is 2 council questions, and it's a direct question for Mr. Grimm. Mr. Grimm, please explain how homosexuals are not normal and how transgendered people are pretending.
There are a lot of people in the community, in the country, that do not agree with either lifestyle. I am not approving or condemning either one. I'm not approving or condemning either one of them.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Mr. Cobb.
what, I gotta be careful here. For one, it's called freedom of speech. What was printed. And there's also no repercussion in the charter to do anything about this. I mean, that is with the freedom of speech, you do run the possibility of repercussion from it. What the individual said is entirely up to him. I would just like to ask one thing, is that they be a little bit more choosy on the words.
Mr. Bridge, does that person provide their name and address?
But doesn't, no, I just,
Isn't that required to address council?
anyone can address any council member the way they so choose fit. I mean,
I believe that
doesn't
that is part of our procedure for a name and address. I believe that the anonymous letter that we all received is basically the same scenario. And I, like Mr. Cobb, do agree it's free speech. I, in my own mind, was brought up to respect any and all people, regardless of race, regardless of sexual orientation. And consequently, I think that is primarily where we need to get back to. Now, again, there's nothing in the charter for any action to be taken by council. Is there anybody else that's got any comments?
I
I
do.
do.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I want to know if we can add these ordinances we gave tonight so that there's something in the charter so people will be responsible for their actions and can't hide behind freedom of speech. Because they do represent some constituents and not everybody agrees.
I will respond to that, Hopkins. We have been trying to get together a group of citizens to address a charter review. At this point, we have nobody. I would like to ask council that basically it falls then upon us to go through that charter, make recommendations for changes. In the upcoming 2021 election, I would like to see some items changed in that charter and put through on that vote for the 2021 vote.
I thought the council couldn't do that. I thought it had to be someone outside the council.
It falls underneath the charter that council can do this on their own. Yes, we have numerable times asked for a citizen review. Nobody has responded. So I believe it now falls to the council to see what changes we want to see in this charter. Council has the final say even on the charter review committee as to whether or not to place these on the ballot.
But what about these ordinances that we have in front of us?
I would suggest we run by Jake first.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dale.
I would suggest we run by Jake first. Randy said it hasn't been presented to the law director yet.
I believe also that those need to be run by the law director. And I would ask this question. I believe these are the same ordinances that were voted down by council, may I say, 2 years ago?
So yeah, and I'll just take 2 seconds to clear that up. So the ordinance, what was it say? 18-25 was a really inclusive long one where it had ripple effects on businesses and, council shot that one down pretty handedly in a vote. Then we had a discussion about bringing it back, and an additional 18-35 was given to council, but it was heavily redacted. And the fact that it only dealt with your city employees and any boards and commissions that may be dealing with the city. And I do believe in discussion, council decided not even to introduce that one, just to not even bring it. So you have one that failed, and then the second one, council didn't even want to entertain even discussing or passing, if my memory serves me correct. So when you see those two, that's why I gave you both. What our former law director gave that, our current law director has not reviewed those for legal form and sufficiency. So that would be needed to be done. But I didn't want to send him stuff without council deciding how they wanted to move forward.
I would suggest that these go to the law director, and we could possibly entertain these on a work session first meeting in September. Am I good there, Mr. Cobb?
Correct me if I'm wrong, that all these resolutions that are being wrote must be presented to council first. Then council decides if they're going to send them to the law director or not. Then they come, after he reads them and approves of them, then they come back for council to vote on.
That's the way it usually works. Yes, sir.
That's what we're saying.
But they haven't been presented to council by the people that wrote it.
Well, it's presented to council, isn't it? That's why we all have a copy?
Did you present it to council before you sent it to Mr. Bridge?
Well, I'm confused. So these are ordinances that were already drafted. So I was asked by a few council members to have them for you guys ready to review, to decide if you guys as a group wanted to send those off or any kind of subsequent action against Mr. Grimm, like condoning his words, to go back to the law director. Council has to, by majority vote amongst themselves, decide when they want to get the law director involved, because the law director directly reports to me. So what you have, the reason it was sent out is so you guys can look at those in preparation for tonight and decide if you want to move on with and send those to council. But you're also going to decide which one of the two. Do you want the inclusive one that has a ripple effects, or do you just want the one that protects the people who work for you?
I'm gonna make a motion. We just take the one that protects the people who work there until we get a new charter review done.
That would be very respectful.
Do I hear a second to Mr. Cobb's motion?
Second.
So if I'm understanding the motion correctly, this motion is to go ahead and send the one that only deals with the employees of the city and those who serve on boards. I think we added another section on there. I can't remember. I think it has to do with the, let me look at it, a citizens participation plan, which quite frankly, I've never heard of, but it is in our code. So that's what the motion is for, to send that one, the 18-35.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And then the other one, once we meet to do a charter review, yeah.
That's actually a very smart way to handle it, Mr. Cobb. Thank you for bringing that up. Very, 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 very good way to handle it.
Any other comments? I guess we have a motion to, we have an ordinance 2020-XX. I don't know whether you want to attach a number to that for
That one will be 30.
2020-30.
2020 dash. You know what? I don't know. Let me look at my sheet, because I think I have another one already lined up for a number. Let me pull my Excel tracking sheet up here. We're not doing anything with salt, right? Yeah, it could be 30. 2020.
All right. 2020-30.
Second,
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Motion by Mr.
Yeah.
Cobb, second by Mrs. Hopkins.
Mrs. Hopkins? Okay. Okay,
If no other discussion, I'll call for a roll call.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski,
yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
No.
Councilwoman Hopkins.
Yes.
That motion is accepted 5-1.
All right, now I think we need another motion to, break rules of council, go into executive session.
Is that something that you guys want to go ahead and through this one, or do you want to wait till the 27th month? We have a lot more information. Because I can give each of you a call to tell you what it's about, but right now it'll literally take 2 seconds. Because we don't have the information.
Mr. Cobb,
Up to you guys.
Well, first thing, we need to make a motion to excuse Mayor Lowry from the work session and the regular meeting.
Second.
Second. Third.
hey, any discussion on the motion?
Was that Grimm with the second?
I believe
Think
so.
it was.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll take it.
all right. Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
and Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
That is accepted 6-0.
Now, what is council's, go ahead, Peggy.
Wasn't there a second question on that email from the citizen?
It said, screen went off. It just said direct question for Dale Grimm. Please explain how homosexuals are not normal and how transgendered people are pretending. So I don't,
We still need the executive session to discuss the other.
so
I would like to say a few things, if that's
Well,
okay.
Hang on a minute, Dale, are we going to decide about the executive session, or do we want to go to Mr. Grimm, or let's go to Dale. Go ahead, Dale.
Okay. This may get a bit more graphic than some people may wish to hear, but it needs to be said. I had responded to a post on Facebook from NAMBLA, which is the North American Man-Boy Love Association, who is actively trying to, they say there's nothing wrong with men having sex with young boys. They're trying to get that legalized, and they are working on it vigorously. There are a number of other pedophile groups that are vigorously working to get pedophilia legal by reducing the age of sexual consent to 16, 14, or even lower. You all have seen on Facebook all of the posts about missing children. And you have also seen about, there have been 2 that I know of, busts of human trafficking. Most of these are children. These are children being used either directly with sex for adults or in the production of kiddie porn, child pornography. That I find to be the biggest problem facing our country right now, and nobody seems to be addressing it. Now, I saw this post from NAMBLA trying to explain their position and trying to garner support for their activities. I stated that homosexualities and those who think they're the opposite sex and pedophiles have one thing in common, and only one thing, and that is that they are trying, 2 have already succeeded, 1 is still working on gaining acceptance for their beliefs through activism. That is the main thing, activism. I did not slander anyone. I did not make a judgment call on anyone. I simply stated facts. Now, you all remember, all in your lifetimes, you remember when sodomy was illegal in all 50 states. It is now legal in around 40 states. Same with people dressing up, acting as the other sex. We now have men allowed to go into women's restrooms, which I find totally objectionable. And we have men participating in women's sports, which is totally ridiculous. There are basic differences between men and women other than just the genitalia. A man that thinks he's a woman and like to dress as a woman, fine. He has the right to do that. But he does not have the right to go into a women's restroom, because then he is violating the rights of all the women in the restroom. He also does not have the right to participate in women's sports, because men are naturally stronger and have more endurance than women. The admittance of men into women's sports will destroy women's sports and will totally go against the intent of Title IX. Title IX was enacted by Congress to give women their own sports programs so they can participate on an equal footing, because very few women are going to be able to beat a man at any sport. And it's being proven. There are so many sporting events where men have been participating and men have blown the women away. And people I'm shocked that people actually find that good. That was the meaning of the post. There was no hatred intended. There was no hatred expressed. End of story, period. Thank you.
But Dale, the one thing you don't
End of
realize,
story, period. Thank you.
okay, but one thing you don't realize by talking about pedophiles in the same context as gays, it's like lumping them together. It's not true.
At one time, they were all illegal. 2 of them
Yeah.
are now legal through activism. Okay.
Okay.
I have had more positive responses than I've had negatives, mainly from people who actually understood what I was saying. They didn't
Well-
just read a few words. I got an email from this guy with, what is it, Equality Springfield, raking me over the coals. They passed a resolution condemning me and saying that I'm the scum of the earth. I explained it to him and he said, well, now that you put it that way, I can understand it. That's
can't.
exactly what is happening.
I
People
can't.
are knee-jerk reacting.
We're just going to have to agree to disagree from
Nobody has been able to. I asked this person that sent the anonymous email. First of all, when we were running newspapers, anonymous emails, we gave only token attention to. If they expressed an attitude like this person expresses, it was deleted without even reading it. We'd read the first few sentences. If they were showing this attitude, it was gone. That's exactly, I did have the courtesy of asking her to explain why she thought I was wrong. And she said, well, if you don't know what's wrong, you're really stupid. Come on, that's not a response. She said, you reflect everybody on council. No person in their right mind will take the opinions of one member of a group as the opinion of the entire group. No, I'm not going to get council approval for everything I put up on Facebook. That's not going to happen. I will continue to speak. You guys know me well enough to know that I do not mince words. I do not beat around the bush. I will continue to be active in certain things. And one of them I'm very active in is against child pornography, pedophilia.
I am too, but I don't think that all gays or lesbians or bisexual are predators on children.
And Amy, I did not even imply that.
Yes, you did.
You-
Unfortunately.
Oh, I didn't. You
Well-
implied it yourself.
Mr.
I
Graham,
think, guys,
I-
that, all right, go ahead, Mr. Cobb.
like I said earlier, that you have the First Amendment right to say whatever you want. There's nothing on the charter that says you can't say what you want. And no repercussion from the rest of the council to do anything with you. What you do with your own life, even though we still represent council 24/7, but what you say is entirely your free speech. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and degrade you or anybody else for what they say. But just remember, there is repercussion that comes along behind everything that is said. We got a sick world in here. I will agree with you. So, I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and get on you for what you say. That's your right to say what you want to say. And I'll end it right there.
As I said, the only sensible contact, negative contact I've had was from, and was it Empower Springfield? Is that what it is?
I guess Equality Springfield.
Quality Springfield. And after explaining it, he understood. He said, we may not agree on a lot of things, which I don't expect. I don't expect everyone to agree with me on everything. I don't agree with all you guys on everything.
I think the whole thing that boils down to the fact of is called interpretation. You know, we all can start out with thinking, making comments on Facebook. What I interpret from one place, somebody else is going to interpret it another way. So consequently, I think this whole situation, nobody's going to agree upon what we need to do. But anyhow, back to the story at hand. Do we want to have an executive session, or do we want Mr. Bridge to contact us, quote unquote, individually with the information and pass it on at that point?
Mr. Mayor, I believe we need to go to executive session, discuss the other situation.
We can only go into executive session for political litigation. What's the other thing? 'Cause there's only certain things we can go to executive session for. So we would have to make sure it's actually calls if it's something in addition to the litigation.
Is this, Ron, is this what you're talking about, the litigation?
Yes, the litigation.
That's it, Mr. Cobb. Sorry, but I misunderstood you. Sorry.
Second.
Okay.
First, we need to break rules of council.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I move we break rules of council to go into executive session.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? If not, Mrs. Burner.
Okay, Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
or Acting Mayor Cook, sorry.
All right.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
You there?
Linda, you're muted.
You're muted.
Yes.
okay, Councilman Cobb.
Yes.
All right, that motion is accepted 6-0 to break rules of council to add our executive session.
Do I hear a motion for executive session?
So
I move
moved.
to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation.
All right.
Do we need to adjourn this one first?
No.
No, Casey will take us off the live feed. We usually get about a 5-minute break, which I'm going to request. And then once we do, we'll kill that feed and I'll have to send out a calendar invite for a brand new meeting.
Okay.
Who was the first for the,
I think it was Peggy, wasn't it? Well, Hale,
It doesn't matter.
Grimm first, Peggy second?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
You're so agreeable, Peggy.
I say, it's been a long week.
Acting Mayor Cook,
yes.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston.
Yes.
All right, that motion's accepted 6-0. We can move into executive session.